Golden Guardians have been a train wreck this spring split. Now, this team has finished last place with a record of 4 and 14, although all of their wins, aside from CLG, were against top teams. So that would be Team Liquid, Echo Fox, and 100 Thieves. Now, many people are criticizing this team at the end of the split, saying that they're trash, like they're bottom tier. And some of this is valid criticism, but the problem with this is that we're in a new type of system now. Franchising was made to allow teams to have long term goals. So condemning a team after one split is kind of short sighted. And many people have a problem by criticizing their business plan because there was a story that was released from Jacob Wolf that says that High is being, kicked off the team and Mickey is being brought on to replace him, who is a academy mid laner. Now, everyone has a problem with this because this team was supposed to develop NA talent and it was supposed to be like this all-American hoorah team, but the thing about that is that what's to say that changing your business plan or your motto, like that shouldn't be indicative to failure. That shouldn't be to say that you are a complete failure in what you did and you don't know how to change at all. This is showing that they do know how to change. This is to say that, yes, they were wrong initially and they did fail initially, but their plan is malleable. That's what franchising is all about, is to make correct long-term decisions and change things based upon whatever feedback that you're getting from the community or from your team or whatnot. So to say that just because you fail once at something that you should never try again or you should never look for avenues to succeed, I don't think that's the correct way to go about especially something within a franchise model. I mean, it's just like anything in life that you have ever failed at. Oh, so suddenly you should never try again. You should never go towards this goal of being more successful than you were before. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And their idea of success is changing up their business plan because they don't feel like that they can succeed another split with this same plan. So franchising allows for this. That's the whole point of franchising. So to jump to the conclusion that this team is going back on their word, that they have failed and they'll just end up they'll keep failing and we should just condemn this team immediately because of 3 months is completely ludicrous. It's a preposterous proposition, and I don't think anyone should be jumping to this conclusion just because they have switched their business plan. I think that's ridiculous. And so this team, they were supposed to develop NA talent, right? And now they're getting a Korean mid laner, Korean import, and that's why everyone's criticizing them. And people are angry that he's not NA and that he's, sure, he is developing talent, but in the same sense, High wasn't a talent that needed to be developed. Like, yeah, sure, he's from NA and it fits the whole American gung-ho, like, full roster, but it still doesn't fit the developing talent aspect, which Mickey does. So if you're criticizing this team because of one thing, then you should praise them in the other thing too, because it still fits their business plan of what they were going for originally. So you have to decide what side of the criticism that you're going against, because it's a two-part statement. It's an all-American team and it's developing NA talent. So I mean, you should give criticism towards this team for one or the other. And if you say, oh, well, he's not fucking LA talent, like, oh, bullshit. All right, get off your high horse. Like, yeah, he's not NA, but he still is amateur type talent. And that is what they were going for developing budding talent to grow into something greater. So no, I think this still fits their business model in some aspect. Now, the problem is whether High can leave this team and have it still function. Now, if you look at High originally and his style of play, High doesn't function on a team that has all terrible laners. He functions on a team where at least someone can go positive somewhere, because you know he's going to lose his lane. He will lose the lane himself, but he will help other people win their lanes. So he ends up snowballing another part of the map, and then therefore that is their win condition. They don't necessarily win through High themselves. And so you look at this roster and you think, all right, Golden Guardians, how do they win? Well, you can't snowball Lorlo. He's really not that good enough. You can't snowball Deathly or Matt. They aren't good enough. And contracts, it's very difficult to snowball a jungler as is, especially within the current meta. So then you have to snowball mid. Well, you can't snowball mid because he doesn't get an advantage by himself anyways. And not only that, but you have to have good synergy within your mid laner and your jungler in order to try and snowball mid lane in and of itself, which is very difficult because they don't synergize well together at all. So it becomes this whole amalgamation of just complete fuckery. Like you can't have this team have a clear win condition. It just doesn't exist for this team. So you should question whether this team can function without High instead, because the team started to play better towards the end of the split, and one could assume this is due to leadership, right? It's because at the beginning, Loco Doco was the head coach, and in one of their videos, he had said, or a interview that Loco Doco had said was that I believe it was a Narrative Wake episode or something with Thorn. And he had said that he wanted a democratic type of leadership. He didn't want High to just be leading to the team and shot calling and making micro decisions for everyone. He wanted other people to input value into the decisions that should be made towards the later parts of the game. And so when you replace that leadership, though, when you replace Loco Doco and add in Coach Tyler, one could assume that High was allowed to then create like this monarchy, right? To allow High to take the reins for the team and to dictate what they should do past the laning phase or even towards the later parts of the laning phase. And now, previously, with a similar team, with Lorlo and Matt, you had Dardoch and Piglet that could shot call for the team. So there wasn't a problem with communication in that sense. But now, if you replace High with Mickey, you should wonder, well, who's going to be the voice of this team, right? Because Mickey is an import. His English is probably not that great. And whenever you get an import initially, they lack a communicative aspect. So you have to rely on other players, that excel at English to be able to take on more duties of shot calling in order for the team to function properly. So now you question whether that is a possibility without High on this lineup, especially with players that still have these amateur tendencies, right? They aren't necessarily amateurs. Lorlo has been playing for a while now, and same with Matt. So, but they still don't show signs of progressing as a veteran. So now you have to wonder who is actually going to take the reins for making decisions later on in the game. And then what you should question with Golden Guardians is that all these players have zero name value, like whatsoever. They seem to be some of the most bland characters within the entire league, and that may partly be due to a lack of content, which then you can criticize Golden Guardians for not putting out enough content for us to learn about their personalities, for us to connect with these players on a personal level. That is a great valid criticism that I think needs to be thrown towards Golden Guardians' way, especially when you have such a lackluster, star-studded roster that that has only one star upon it, and all the other ones are forgettable. And so as a team, you have to decide whether you want a marketable team, something like I'm a cutie pie and Dyrus or something, and high on the team, right? Like, this is a very marketable team, but it's not a very competitive team either. So you have to decide whether you want a competitive team, like a team with two Koreans and maybe two team players on the team, and then one superstar. Like, yeah, this is a very competitive team, but it's not one that's necessarily incredibly marketable because you have the language barriers for the North American audience with the two Korean players. And so it's very difficult to market something like that unless you are just incredibly competitive. And then therefore that just gives you the availability to be marketable, right? Because everyone loves a winner. Or you have a team that is just very marketable. Yeah, they aren't the greatest team ever. Maybe they're fourth or fifth, but they are very marketable. Like, say, Cloud9, or you could even say Team Liquid in the past. So it's a difference that you want to kind of succeed in a branding or in a franchise model, and Golden Guardians aren't succeeding in either of these aspects. So that should be the biggest criticism that you take away with Golden Guardians. But even still, you shouldn't jump to such crazy conclusions that this team is worthless, they aren't worth a franchise spot, because it's only been 3 months. I mean, you gotta give these people some time, especially because they aren't an endemic org. So when you think of an endemic org and gathering all these players, all the ones that were endemic orgs, Team Liquid, Cloud9, TSM, CLG, all of these teams are endemic. And so they're able to get these contracts very easily, because if you're a star player, you question whether that they have the pedigree and the infrastructure in order to support you properly. Well, these teams do. And so, yes, you get the paycheck and everything, but also you get the infrastructure. So if someone is paying you the same salary, say Golden Guardians would have paid you the same salary as Team Liquid, well, you would rather go to Team Liquid, right? Because they have the infrastructure. So therefore, they have a better buying power. So this can be a reason why teams like Golden Guardians don't have a crazy buying power when it comes to the beginning of the season. And then, well, you're thinking, well, what about Clutch Gaming or 100 Thieves? Well, 100 Thieves, they already have Nadeshot, a great personality, someone who can develop their brand extremely quickly. And then you also have Prawley, who's a legendary coach. You already know the infrastructure is going to be set up well because he is setting up all the infrastructure. So that's not going to be a problem. Now, with Clutch, I think it's a little bit different because, yes, they aren't an endemic org, and so it's a little bit sketchy to join them, but I think they're kind of like a unicorn in the sense. Not in unicorns of love, but a unicorn as in a rarity, because no one expected them to do very well in the beginning of the split anyways. And the only reason why they would have somewhat of a success is because of their star power in Febiven, right? Everyone expected Febiven to do quite well, and same with Lyra being great on Team Envious, and then coming on this team now, it's like, okay, maybe they could stomp with that pair, maybe this is something that they could pull off and they could get in the middle of the pack. Like, okay, that's fine. And they exceeded expectations, which, I mean, kudos to them, right? But I think they're the exception. And so you look at a team like Golden Guardians, and it's very difficult to succeed in an environment where all these other people have more buying power than you. So I think people are jumping to conclusions when it comes to Golden Guardians. I think after Summer Split, and if they fail Summer Split super hard, then maybe you can say, yeah, this team, I don't know what they're doing. It seems like they don't have a game plan. It seems like they aren't going anywhere. Like, yes, I think after a year, there should be all types of valid criticism to go towards them. But I think that within time they should be able to come up with a cohesive plan to kind of get back within the game within NALCS. And I think for now, spring split, end of spring split, it's just far too soon to jump to a conclusion like Golden Guardians are terrible and they don't know what they're doing.